Let's do this. Dirt Rally 2.0. Here we go. We have liftoff. This is nice.
Wisebot live online under the game Dirt Rally 2.0. The uptime begin.
Tune, load. Tires. One spare. Go. To open up my browser.
These are the words that Moses spoke to all Israel in the wilderness east of the Jordan, in the Arabah opposite Suf, between Paran and Tophel, Laban, Hazeroth, and Dizahath. It is an 11-day journey from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea by way of Mount Seir. In the 40th year, on the first day of the 11th month, Moses proclaimed to the Israelites all that the Lord had commanded him concerning them. This was after he had defeated Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived in Heshbon, and then at Edrei had defeated Og, king of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth. On the east side of the Jordan, in the land of Moab, Moses began to explain this law,
Botrix has correctly joined the channel.
God said to us at Horeb, "You have stayed at this mountain long enough. Resume your journey and go to the hill country of the Amorites. Go to all the neighboring peoples in the Arabah, in the hill country, in the foothills, in the Negev, and along the seacoast to the land of the Canaanites and to Lebanon, as far as the great river Euphrates. See, I have placed the land before you. Enter and possess the land that the Lord swore he would give to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to their descendants after them. At that time I said to you, I cannot carry the burden for you alone. The Lord your God has multiplied you, so that today you are as numerous as the stars in the sky. May the Lord, the God of your fathers, increase you 1,000 times over, and bless you as he has promised. But how can I bear your troubles, burdens, and disputes all by myself? Choose for yourselves wise, understanding, and respected men from each of your tribes, and I will appoint them as your leaders." And you answered me and said, "What you propose to do is good." So I took the leaders of your tribes, wise and respected men, and appointed them as leaders over you, as commanders of thousands, of hundreds, of 50s, and of 10s, and as officers for your tribes. At that time I charged your judges, hear the disputes between your brothers, and judge fairly between a man and his brother or a foreign resident. Show no partiality in judgment. Hear both small and great alike. Do not be intimidated by anyone, for judgment belongs to God. And bring to me any case too difficult for you, and I will hear it. And at that time I commanded you all the things you were to do. And just as the Lord our God had commanded us, we set out from Horeb and went toward the hill country of the Amorites, through all the vast and terrifying wilderness you have seen. When we reached Kadesh Barnea, I said, "You have reached the hill country of the Amorites, which the Lord our God is giving us. See, the Lord your God has placed the land before you. Go up and take possession of it, as the Lord, the God of your fathers, has told you. Do not be afraid or discouraged." Then all of you approached me and said, "Let us send men ahead of us to search out the land and bring us word of what route to follow and which cities to enter." The plan seemed good to me, so I selected 12 men from among you, one from each tribe. They left and went up into the hill country and came to the valley of Ashkelon and spied out the land. They took some of the fruit of the land in their hands, carried it down to us, and brought us word. It is a good land that the Lord our God is giving us. But you were unwilling to go up. You rebelled against the command of the Lord your God. You grumbled in your tents and said, "Because the Lord hates us, he has brought us out of the land of Egypt to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites." to be annihilated. Where can we go? Our brothers have made our hearts melt.
Oh
saying,
wow, I need
"The
30
people
seconds to
are
finish.
larger and taller than we are. The cities are large.
Well, that's the
walls
finish,
up
isn't it?
to the heavens. We even saw the descendants
Oh,
of the Anakim.
there's the finish.
So I
Alright,
said to you,
what a finish.
do not be
We'll keep
terrified
that.
or afraid of them. The Lord your God, who goes before you, will fight for you, just as you saw him do
We'll
for
definitely
you.
clip that.
And in the wilderness,
What a finish.
where the Lord your God carried you, as a man carries his son, all the way by which you traveled until you reached this place. But in spite of all this, you did not trust the Lord your God, who went before you on the journey, in the fire by night and in the cloud by day, to seek out a place for you to camp and to show you the road to travel. When the Lord heard your words, he grew angry
Oh,
and
something
swore an
went
oath,
wrong.
saying, "Not one of the men of this evil generation shall see the good land I swore to give your fathers, except Caleb, son of
Come on.
Jephunneh.
Oh,
He
something went
will
wrong.
see it, and I will give him and his descendants the land on which
That's a
he has
bummer.
set foot, because he followed the Lord wholeheartedly. The Lord was also angry with me on your account, and he said, Not even you shall enter the land. Joshua, son of Nun, who stands
It won't let me
before
clip
you,
it.
will enter it. Encourage him.
That
for
is
he
a
will
bummer.
enable
Oh,
Israel
we've
to
got
inherit
repairs
the
to
land.
do.
And the little ones you said would become captives, your children, who on that day did not know good from evil, will enter the land that I will give them, and they will possess it. But you are to turn back and head for the wilderness along the route to the Red Sea. We have sinned against the Lord, you replied. We will go up and fight, as the Lord our God has commanded us. Then each of you put on his weapons of war, thinking it easy to go up into the hill country. But the Lord said to me, Tell them not to go up and fight, for I am not with you to keep you from defeat by your enemies.
Oh.
So I spoke to you, but you would not listen. You rebelled against the command of the Lord and presumptuously went up into the hill country. Then the Amorites who lived in the hills came out against you and chased you like a swarm of bees. They routed you from Seir all the way to Hormah. And you returned and wept before the Lord, but he would not listen to your voice or give ear to you. For this reason, you stayed in Kadesh for a long time, a very long time. Then we turned back and headed for the wilderness by way of the Red Sea, as the Lord had instructed me. And for many days we wandered around Mount Seir. At this time the Lord said to me, You have been wandering around this hill country long enough. Turn to the north and command the people, You will pass through the territory of your brothers, the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir. They will be afraid of you, so you must be very careful. Do not provoke them, for I will not give you any of their land, not even a footprint, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as his possession. You are to pay them in silver for the food you eat and the water you drink. Indeed, the Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hands. He has watched over your journey through this vast wilderness. The Lord your God has been with you these 40 years, and you have lacked nothing. So we passed by our brothers, the descendants of Esau who live in Seir. We turned away from the Arabah road, which comes up from Elath and Ezion-Geber, and traveled along the road of the wilderness of Moab. Then the Lord said to me, Do not harass the Moabites or provoke them to war, for I will not give you any of their land, because I have given Ar to the descendants of Lot as their possession. The Emites used to live there, a people great and many, as tall as the Anakites. Like the Anakites, they were also regarded as Rephaim, though the Moabites called them Emites. The Horites used to live in Seir, but the descendants of Esau drove them out. They destroyed the Horites from before them and settled in their place, just as Israel did in the land that the Lord gave them as their possession. Now arise and cross over the brook of Zereth. So we crossed over the brook of Zereth. The time we spent traveling from Kadesh Barnea
Oh no!
until we crossed over
It's
the
gone horribly wrong.
was 38 years.
Tell you what, let's call that a death.
Until that entire generation of fighting men had perished from the camp, as the Lord had sworn to
And
them.
spectate.
Indeed,
Let's see how good this
the Lord
Walton guy
was
is.
against them,
Oh, he's pretty busted
from
up.
the camp until they had all perished. Now when all the fighting men among the people had died, the Lord said to me, "Today you are going to cross the border of Moab at Ar. But when you get close to the Ammonites, do not harass them or provoke them, for I will not give you any of the land of the Ammonites. I have given it to the descendants of Lot as their possession." That too was regarded as the land of the Rephaim, who used to live there, though the Ammonites called them Zamzummites. They were a people great and many, as tall as the Anakites. But the Lord destroyed them from before the Ammonites.
Oh, he's sending
He
it.
drove them out and settled in their place, just as he had done for the descendants of Esau
Squiggly
who lived in
there.
Seir, when he destroyed the Horites from before them. They drove them out and have lived in their place to this day. And the Avim, who lived
Pushing
in the
hard.
villages as far as
Oh,
Gaza,
so
were
close to
destroyed
the
by
outside there.
who came out of Hathor and settled in their place. Arise, set out and cross the Arnon Valley. See, I have delivered into your hand Sihon the Amorite,
Excellent.
king of Heshbon, and his
Absolutely excellent.
land. Begin to take possession of
What
it
we like to see.
and engage him in battle.
Yeah.
This very day I will begin to
Since
put
I'm
the
not very
dread
good at
and
that
fear of you upon
anymore.
all the nations under heaven.
I was never great,
They will hear
but
the reports of you and tremble in anguish because of you. So from the wilderness of Kedemoth, I sent messengers with an offer of
Yeah.
peace to Sihon, king of Heshbon, saying, "Let us pass through your land. We will stay on the main road. We will not turn to the right or to the left. You can sell us food to eat and water to drink in exchange for silver. Only let us pass through on foot, just as the descendants of Esau who live in Seir and the Moabites who live in Ar did for us, until we cross the Jordan into the land that the Lord our God is giving us." But Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass through, for the Lord your God had made his spirit stubborn and his heart
Politics
obstinate,
in
that
Poland.
he might deliver
Oh,
him into
Poland.
your hand,
The gauntlet.
as is the case this
the
day.
gauntlet of death
Then
and
the Lord
doom.
said to me, "See, I have begun to deliver Sihon and his land over to you. Now begin to conquer and possess his land."
We're going to
So
stay with the fool.
Sihon and his whole army came out for battle against us at Jahaz. And the Lord our God delivered him over to us, and we defeated him and his sons and his whole army. At that time we captured all his cities and devoted to destruction the people of every city, including women and children. We left no survivors. We carried off for ourselves only the livestock and the plunder from the cities we captured. From Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Valley, along with the city in the valley, even as far as Gilead, not one city had walls too high for us. The Lord our God gave us all of them. But you did not go near the land of the Ammonites, or the land along the banks of the Jabbok River, or the cities of the hill country, or any place that the Lord our God had forbidden. Then we turned and went up the road to Bashan, and Og, king of Bashan, and his whole army came out to meet us in
Oh,
battle.
the
at
rain.
Gibeah.
We love it.
But the Lord said to me, "Do not fear him, for I have delivered him
Socks in
into
the
your
rain.
hand, along with all
Excellent.
his people and his land. Do
This
to
is
him
content.
as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites,
This is how
who
it's
lived
done.
in Heshbon." So the
Softs in
Lord
the
our
rain,
God also delivered
just like
Og,
Chris.
king of Bashan, and his whole army into our hands. We struck them down until no survivor was left. At that time,
We don't need
captured
grit.
all 60 of his cities. There was not a single city we failed to take. The entire region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these cities were fortified with high walls and gates and bars, and there were many more unwalled villages. We devoted them to destruction, as we had done to Sihon, king of Heshbon, utterly destroying the men, women, and children of every city. but all the livestock and plunder of the cities we carried off for ourselves. At that time we took from the 2 kings of the Amorites the land across the Jordan, from the Arnon Valley as far as Mount Hermon, which the Sidonians call Sirion, but the Amorites call Scenia.
Can't remember any of the stage.
All of Gilead, and all of Bashan, as far as the cities of Salica and Edrei in the kingdom of Og. For only Og, king of Bashan, had remained of the remnant of the Rephaim. His bed of iron, 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, is still in Rabbah of the Ammonites. So at that time we took possession of this land. To the Reubenites and Gadites I gave the land beyond Aroer, along the Arnon Valley, and half the hill country of Gilead, along with its cities. To the half-tribe of Manasseh I gave the rest of Gilead and all of Bashan, the kingdom of Og. The entire region of Argob, the whole territory of Bashan, used to be called the land of the Rephaim. Jair, a descendant of Manasseh, took the whole region of Argob as far as the border of the Geshurites and Maacathites. He renamed Bashan after himself, Havoth Jair, by which it is called to this day. To Maker I gave Gilead, and to the Reubenites and Gadites I gave the territory from Gilead to the Arnon Valley. The middle of the valley was the border, and up to the Jabbok River, the border of the Ammonites. The Jordan River in the Arabah bordered it from Kinnereth to the Sea of the Arabah, the Salt Sea, with the slopes of Pisgah to the east. At that time I commanded you, the Lord your God has given you this land to possess. All your men of valor are to cross over, armed for battle, ahead of your brothers, the Israelites. But your wives, your children, and your livestock, I know that you have much livestock, may remain in the cities I have given you, until the Lord gives rest to your brothers.
The nasty
as he
right
has
bend
to
coming
you.
up somewhere, I know
And
it
they
is.
too have taken
That one.
possession of the land that the Lord your God is giving them across the Jordan.
There's a nasty right
They
somewhere.
return to the possession I have given you. And at that time,
All
I
bends
commanded
are blessed
Joshua, your
in this
own
game.
eyes have seen all that the Lord your
Be
God
honest.
has done to these 2 kings.
Right, this
The
is
Lord
nasty
will do the
death
same
breast.
to all the kingdoms you are about to enter. Do not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God himself will fight for you. At that time I also pleaded with the Lord. O Lord God, you have begun to show your greatness and power to your servant. For what God in heaven or on earth can perform such works and
No,
mighty
no, no, no,
acts
no,
as
no,
yours?
no.
Please let me cross over and see the good land beyond the Jordan, that pleasant hill country as well as Lebanon. But the Lord was angry with me on account of you, and he would not listen to me. That is enough, the Lord said to me. Do not speak to me again about this matter. Go to the top of
There we
Pisgah
go.
and look to the west and north and south and east. See the land with your own eyes, for you will not cross this Jordan. But commission Joshua, encourage him and strengthen him, for he will cross over ahead of the people and enable them to inherit the land that you will see. So we stayed in the valley opposite Beth Peor. Hear now, O Israel, the statutes and ordinances I am teaching you to follow, so that you may live and may enter and take possession of the land that the Lord, the God of your fathers, is giving you. You must not add to or subtract from what I command you, so that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God that I am giving you. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did at Baal Peor. For the Lord your God destroyed from among you all who followed Baal of Peor. But you who held fast to the Lord your God are alive to this day, every one of you. See, I have taught you statutes and ordinances, just as the Lord my God has commanded me, so that
Nice
you
fair,
may follow
thank
them
you.
in the land that you are about to enter and possess. Observe them carefully, for this will show your
Graphics.
wisdom and understanding in the sight of the
Actions,
peoples,
media.
who will hear of all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is great enough to have a God as near to them as the Lord our God is to us whenever we call on him? And what nation is great enough to have righteous statutes and ordinances like this entire law I set before you today? Only be on your guard and diligently watch yourselves, so that you do not forget the things your eyes have seen,
Right.
and so that they
Should
do
get
not slip
a
from
nice
your
solid
heart
frame
as long as you
time now.
live. Teach them to your children and
That
grandchildren.
is a lot
The day
less
you stood
demanding.
before the Lord your God at Horeb, the
Wisebot 1
Lord
viewers,
said to me,
plus
gather
1,
the people
55%
of Horeb
20 minutes and
GPU.
hear my
49 seconds.
words, so that they may learn to fear me all the days they live on the earth, and that they may teach them to their children. You came near and stood at the base of the mountain, a mountain blazing with fire to the heavens, with black clouds and deep darkness. And the Lord spoke to you out of the fire. You
Oh,
heard
that
the
is
sound of the words,
just
but
a
saw
world
no
difference.
form. There was only a voice. He declared to you his covenant, which he commanded you to follow. The 10
the
commandments
response.
that he wrote on 2 tablets of stone.
Oh, this is
At
rally.
that time, the Lord commanded me to teach you the statutes and ordinances you are to follow in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. So since you saw no form of any kind on the day the Lord spoke to you out of the fire of
Every
Horeb,
frame is
be
perfect.
careful that you do not act corruptly and make an idol for yourselves of any form or shape, whether in the likeness of a male or female, of any beast that is on the earth, or bird that flies in the air, or of any creature that crawls on the ground, or fish that is in the waters below. When you look to the heavens and see the sun and moon and stars, all the host of heaven, do not be enticed to bow down and worship what the Lord your God has apportioned to all the nations under heaven. Yet the Lord is taking you
I love it.
out of the iron furnace, out of Egypt, to be the people of his inheritance, as you are today. The Lord, however, was angry with me on account of you, and he swore that I would not cross the Jordan to enter the good land that the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. For I will not be crossing the Jordan, because I must die in this land. But you shall cross over and take possession of that good land. Be careful that you do not forget the covenant of the Lord your God that he made with you. Do not make an idol for yourselves in the form of anything he has forbidden you.
Yeah.
For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. After you have children and grandchildren, and you have been in the land a long time, if you then act corruptly and make an idol of any form, doing evil in the sight of the Lord your God, and provoking him to anger, I
Right,
call
cool.
heaven
Sign, I
and
think.
earth as witnesses against you this day, that you will quickly perish from the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. You will not live long upon it, but will be utterly destroyed. Then the Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and only a few of you will survive among the nations to which the Lord will drive you. And there you will serve man-made gods of wood and stone, which cannot see, or hear, or eat, or smell. But if from there you will seek the Lord your God, you will find him if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. When you are in distress, and all these things have happened to you, then in later days you will return to the Lord your God, and listen to his voice. For the Lord your God is a merciful God. He will not abandon you or destroy you, or forget the covenant with your fathers, which he swore to them by oath. Indeed, ask now from one end of the heavens to the other about the days that long preceded you, from the day that God created man on earth. Has anything as great as this ever happened or been reported? Has a people ever heard the voice of God speaking out of the fire?
How did I get away with that?
Live?
Oh
Or has
yeah.
any God tried to take as his own a nation out of another nation, by trials, signs, wonders, and war, by a strong hand and an outstretched arm, and by great terrors, as the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes. You
Right,
are
I
told
want
these
replay
things
mode
so
now.
that you would know that the Lord is God.
I want to leave the
There
session.
is
Thank
no
you very
other
much,
besides
Walter.
him.
Muchas gracias.
He let you hear
Pelos
his voice from
huevos.
heaven to discipline you, and on earth he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words out of the fire. Because he loved your fathers, he chose their descendants after them, and brought you out of Egypt by his presence and great power, to drive out before you nations greater and mightier than you, and to bring you into their land and give it to you for your inheritance, as it is this day. Know therefore this day, and take to heart, that the Lord is God in heaven above and on the earth below. There is no other. Keep his statutes and commandments, which I am giving you today, so that you and your children after you may prosper, and that you may live long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you for all time. Then Moses set aside 3 cities across the Jordan to the east, to which a manslayer could flee after killing his neighbor unintentionally without prior malice. To save one's own life, he could flee to one of these cities: Bezer in the wilderness on the plateau belonging to the Reubenites, Ramoth in Gilead belonging to the Gadites, or Golan in Bashan belonging to the Manassites. This is the law that Moses set before the Israelites. These are the testimonies,
Change cars activated.
and ordinances that Moses proclaimed.
Change rally to rallycross
after they had come
activated.
out of Egypt, while they were in the valley across the Jordan, facing Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived in Heshbon, and was defeated by Moses and the Israelites after they had come out of Egypt. They took possession of the land belonging to Sihon and to Og, king of Bashan, the 2 Amorite kings across the Jordan to the east, extending from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Valley as far as Mount Sion, that is Hermon, including all the Arabah on the east side of the Jordan, and as far as the sea of the Arabah.
Change cars
below the
deactivated.
slopes of Pisgah. Then Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and ordinances that I declare in your hearing this day. Learn them and observe them carefully. The Lord our God made a covenant with us at Horeb. He did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with all of us who are alive here today. The Lord spoke with you face to face out of the fire on the mountain. At that time, I was standing between the Lord and you to declare to you the word of the Lord, because you were afraid of the fire and would not go up the mountain. And he said, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in the heavens above, on the earth below, or in the waters beneath. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on their children to the 3rd and 4th generations of those who hate me, but showing loving devotion to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments.
People are busy playing.
You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain,
which is sad.
For the Lord will not leave anyone unpunished who takes his name in vain. Observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy, as the Lord your God has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God, on which you must not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your ox or donkey, or any of your livestock, nor the foreigner within your gates, so that your manservant and maidservant may rest as you do. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord your God brought you out of there
check.
with a mighty hand
Oh, wait a
and an
minute. No,
outstretched
this is
arm.
broken it.
That is why
Change
the
rally
Lord
to
your
rallycross
God has
deactivated.
commanded you to keep the
Change
Sabbath
rally
day.
to rallycross activated.
Honor your
We
father
have
and
to
your
go
mother,
to
as the Lord your God has commanded you,
event
so that your
settings.
days may be long, and that it may go well with you in the land that the
Yeah.
Lord your God is giving
Change
you.
cars activated.
You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not
R5.
steal. You shall not bear
Single
false
race.
witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife.
Event settings.
You shall not
single
covet
race.
your neighbor's house or field, or his manservant or maidservant, or his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. The Lord spoke these commandments in a loud voice to your whole assembly, out of the fire, the cloud, and the deep darkness on the mountain. He
Why is
added
that set
nothing
to
more,
rally again?
and he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone, and gave them to me. And when you heard the voice out of the darkness, while the mountain was blazing with fire, all the heads of your tribes
Change
and your
rally to
elders
rallycross
approached me,
deactivated.
and you said, Behold, the Lord our God has shown us his glory and
Change
greatness,
rally to
and we
rallycross
have
activated.
heard his voice out of the fire. Today we have seen that a man can live even
had that
if
working.
God speaks with him. But now, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us, and we will die if we hear the voice of the Lord our God any longer. For who of all flesh has heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the fire as we have, and survived? Go near and listen to all that the
Hardcore
Lord our
damage
God
off.
says. Then you can tell us everything the Lord our God tells
Unexpected
you.
moments off.
We will listen
If
and
that's
obey.
just broken.
And the Lord heard the words you spoke to me. And he said to me, I have heard the words that these people have spoken to you. They have done well in all that they have spoken. If only they had such a heart
We'll
to
move
fear
that
me
then.
and keep all my
Only
commandments
because we'll do
always,
singles.
so that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Go and tell them,
Okay.
return to your tents.
Let's
But you
just
stand
test
here with
this.
me,
Make sure
I
that
may
it is
speak
actually
to you
working.
all the commandments and statutes and ordinances you are to teach them to follow in the land that I am giving them to possess. So be careful
I
to
would
do
hope
as
it's
the Lord your
working.
God has commanded you. You are not to turn aside to the right or to the left. You must walk in all the ways that the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live and prosper and prolong your
Single
days
race,
in the land
yes,
that you will
okay.
possess. These are the commandments and statutes and ordinances that the Lord your God has instructed me to teach you to follow in the land that you are about to enter and possess, so that you and your children and grandchildren
Go for that.
may fear
Excellent.
the Lord
That
your
means
God
we're all on
all
grid.
the days of your lives, by keeping all his statutes and commandments that I give you, and so that your days
All the cars will be
prolonged.
broken up.
Hear,
Naturally.
O Israel, and be careful to
And
observe it,
ghosted.
so that you may prosper and multiply greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your fathers, has promised you. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. These words I am commanding you today are to be upon your hearts, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and speak of them when
Of course,
you
the
sit
AI
at
is a bit
home,
slow.
and when you walk along the road,
Yeah.
when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them as reminders on your hands, and bind them on your forehead.
It's a slightly slow.
Write them on the doorposts of your houses and on your gates. And when the Lord your God brings you into the land he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he will give you, a land with great and splendid cities that you did not build, with houses full of every good thing with which you did not fill them, with wells that you did not dig, and with vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant. And when you eat and are satisfied,
Be able to drive stages in multiplayer
who brought you out of the land of Egypt,
together.
out of the house of
It's a
slavery.
lot of fun.
Fear the Lord your God.
That's why
Serve
I
him
exclusively
only,
play
and take
ACAT
your oaths
multiplayer,
in
really.
his name. Do not follow other gods, the gods of the peoples around you. For the Lord your God
We love
who
Finland.
is among you is a jealous God. Otherwise, the anger of the Lord your God will be kindled against you, and he will wipe you off the face of the earth. Do not test the Lord your God as you tested him at Massah. You are to diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God and the testimonies and statutes he has given you. Do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, so that it may be well with you, and that you may enter and possess the good land that the Lord your God swore to give your fathers, driving out all your enemies before you, as the Lord has said. In the future, when your son asks, what is the meaning of the decrees,
Nearly
statutes,
epic
and ordinances
skills.
that the Lord our God
Nearly
has
epic
commanded,
skills.
then you are to tell him,
Anyway,
we
I
were
abandoned
slaves of
race.
Pharaoh in Egypt, but the Lord
I should
brought
be able
us
to
out of Egypt
watch
with
the
a mighty
AI
hand.
drive from that.
Before our eyes, the Lord inflicted great and devastating signs and wonders on Egypt, on Pharaoh, and on all his household.
Or
He
not.
brought us out from there to lead us in and give us the land that he had sworn to our fathers. And the Lord commanded us to observe all these statutes and to fear the Lord our God, that we may always be prosperous and preserved, as we are to this day. And if we are careful to observe every one of these commandments before the Lord our God, as he has commanded us, then that will be our righteousness. When the Lord your God brings you into the land that you are entering to possess, and he drives out before you many nations, the Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, 7 nations larger and stronger than you are. And when the Lord your God has delivered them over to you to defeat them, then you must devote them to complete destruction.
But yeah,
No
sadly,
treaty with them.
I don't think we're
and
going to
show
be
them
finding
no
any
mercy.
multiplayer.
Do not intermarry with them. Do not give your daughters to their sons, or take their daughters for your sons, because
No
they
monkey,
will
no
turn your
lion.
sons away from following me to serve other gods. Then the anger of the Lord will burn against you, and he will swiftly destroy you.
Casualty Club doesn't have
Instead,
anything with
this is what
5-speed
you are to do to them.
transmission.
Tear down their altars, smash their sacred pillars,
Yeah, that's
cut
got
down
4-speed
their Asherah
transmission.
poles, and burn their idols in the fire.
Oh,
For you are a people holy to the
there's a
Lord your
5-speed
God.
4.
The Lord your God has chosen you to
2000
be a
cc.
people for his
Okay.
prized possession
I can do
out of all
2000
peoples
cc.
on the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his affection on you and choose you because you were more numerous than the other peoples, for you were the fewest of all peoples.
R5
But
Death
because
Stars.
the Lord loved you and kept the oath he swore to your fathers, he brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you from the house of slavery, from the hand of Pharaoh,
trial.
king of Egypt. Know therefore that the Lord your God is God, the faithful God, who keeps his covenant of loving devotion for 1,000 generations of those
Objects
who love
to
him
Scotland,
and
don't I?
keep his commandments. But those who hate him, he repays to their faces with
do
destruction.
A
He
short
will not
one.
hesitate to repay to his face the one who hates him. So keep the commandments and statutes and ordinances that I
2000
am giving you
cc
to follow
has
this day.
this thing.
If you listen to these ordinances and keep them carefully, then the Lord your God will keep his covenant
Doesn't
and
look
the loving
great.
devotion that he swore to your fathers. He will love you
It's either
and
that or the
bless you
Peugeot.
and
It's definitely going to be the
multiply
40 boy, isn't it?
He will bless the fruit of your womb and the produce of your land, your grain, new wine and oil, the young of your herds and the lambs of your flocks, in the land that he swore to your fathers to give you. You will be blessed above all peoples. Among you there will be no barren man or woman or livestock. And the Lord will remove from you all sickness. He will not lay upon you any of the terrible diseases you knew in Egypt, but he will inflict them on all who hate you. you must destroy all the peoples the Lord your God will deliver to you. Do not look on them with pity.
Okay, that looks...
Do not worship their gods, for
tense.
that will be a snare to you. You may say in your heart, these nations are greater than we are. How can we drive them out? But do not be afraid of them. Be sure to remember what the Lord your God did to Pharaoh and all Egypt, the great trials that you saw, the signs and wonders, and the mighty hand and outstretched arm by which the Lord your God brought you out. The Lord your God will do the same to all the peoples you now fear. Moreover, the Lord your God will send the hornet against them until even the survivors hiding from you have perished. Do not be terrified by them, for the Lord your God, who is among you, is a great and awesome God. The Lord your God will drive out these
Just
nations
whatever,
before you,
medium size,
little by
get used
little.
to it and go.
You will not be enabled to eliminate them all at once, or the wild animals would multiply around you. But the Lord your God will give them over to you, and throw them into great confusion until they are destroyed. He will hand their kings over to you, and you will wipe out their names from under heaven. No one will be able to stand against you. You will annihilate them. You must burn up the images of their gods. Do not covet the silver
Every time.
that is on them.
Every time. I'm not having that.
Or you will be ensnared
Come on.
by it.
That's pathetic.
For it is detestable to the Lord your
Sort
God.
it out, John.
And you must not bring any detestable thing into your house, or you, like it, will be set apart for destruction. You are to utterly detest and abhor it, because it is set apart for destruction. You must carefully follow every commandment I am giving you today, so that you may live and multiply, and enter and possess the land that the Lord swore to give your fathers. Remember that these 40 years the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness, so that he might humble you and test you, in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commandments. He humbled you, and in your hunger he gave you manna to eat, which neither you nor your fathers had known, so that you might understand that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. Your clothing did not wear out, and your feet did not swell during these 40 years. So knowing your heart,
Come on, there you go away with
as
that.
a man disciplines his
That would have been
son,
some Jet Set
so the
Radio
Lord
style
your
grinding
God
right there.
disciplines you. Therefore you shall keep the commandments of the Lord your God, walking in his ways and fearing him.
It's the
For
car,
Lord
it's
your
not me.
God is bringing you
Right?
into a good land, a land of brooks
That's
and
not the
fountains
truth.
and
I
springs
suck.
that
I'm out of
flow through the
references.
valleys and hills, a land of wheat, barley, vines, fig trees, and pomegranates,
So
a land
this
of
tune
olive oil and honey, a land where
needs
you will
working
eat
on
food
really.
without scarcity, where you will lack nothing, a land whose rocks are iron and whose hills are ready to be mined for copper. When you eat and are satisfied, you are to bless the Lord your God for the good land that he has given you. Be careful not to forget the Lord your God by failing to keep his commandments and ordinances and statutes, which I am giving you this day. Otherwise, when you eat and are satisfied, when you build fine houses in which to dwell, and when your herds and flocks grow large, and your silver and gold increase, and all that you have is multiplied, then your heart will become proud, and you will forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. He led you through the vast and terrifying wilderness with its venomous snakes and scorpions, a thirsty and waterless land. He brought you water from the rock of flint. He fed you in the wilderness with manna that your fathers had not known, in order to humble you and test you, so that in the end he might cause you to prosper. You might say in your heart, the power and strength of my hands have made this well for me. But remember that it is the Lord your God who gives you the power to gain wealth, in order to confirm his covenant that he swore to your fathers even to this day. If you ever forget the Lord your God, and go after other gods to worship and bow down to them, I testify against you today that you will surely perish.
Oh, come on, that was a
Like
legit
the
cut.
nations that the Lord has destroyed before you, so you will perish if you do not obey the Lord your God. Hear, O Israel, today you are about to cross the Jordan, to go in and dispossess nations greater and stronger than you, with large cities fortified to the heavens. The people are strong and tall, the descendants of the Anakim. You know about them, and you have heard it said, who can stand up to the sons of Anak? But understand that today the Lord your God goes across ahead of you as a consuming fire. He will destroy them and subdue them before you, and you will drive them out and
too
annihilate
ambitious.
them swiftly, as the Lord has promised you.
You can never be too
When
ambitious
the Lord
with
your
this
God
game.
has driven them out
Ever.
before you, do not
Well, you
say
can.
in your heart,
All the
because
time.
of my righteousness,
That's
the
the
Lord
point.
has brought me in to possess this land. Rather, the Lord is driving out these nations before you because of their wickedness. It is not because of your righteousness or uprightness of heart that you are going in to possess their land, but it is because of their wickedness that the Lord your God is driving out these nations before you, to keep the promise he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Understand then that it is not because of your righteousness that the Lord your God is giving you this good land to possess, for you are a stiff-necked people. Remember this, and never forget how you provoked the Lord your God in the wilderness. From the day you left the land of Egypt until you reached this place, you have been rebelling against the Lord. At Horeb, you provoked the Lord, and he was angry enough to destroy you. When I went up on the mountain to receive the tablets of stone, the tablets of the covenant that the Lord made with you, I stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. I ate no bread and drank no water. Then the Lord gave me the 2 stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God,
Here we go.
with the exact words that the
Not much
Lord
for replay,
spoke
but it's
to
a
me
replay.
out of the fire on the mountain on the day of the assembly. And at the end of 40 days and 40 nights, the Lord gave me the 2 stone tablets, the tablets of the covenant. And the Lord said to me, get up and go down from here at once, for your people, whom you brought out of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. How quickly they have turned aside from the way that I commanded them. They have made for themselves a molten image. The Lord also said to me, I have seen this people, and they are indeed a stiff-necked people. Leave me alone, so that I may destroy them and blot out their name from under heaven. Then I will make you into a nation mightier and greater than they are. So I went back down the mountain while it was blazing with fire, with the 2 tablets of the covenant in my hands. And I saw how you had sinned against the Lord your God. You had made for yourselves a molten calf. You had turned aside quickly from the way that the Lord had commanded you. So I took the 2 tablets and threw them out of my hands, shattering them before your eyes. Then I fell down before the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights, as I had done the first time. I did not eat bread or drink water, because of all the sin you had committed in doing what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and provoking him to anger. For I was afraid of the anger and wrath that the Lord had directed against you, enough to destroy you. But the Lord listened to me this time as well. The Lord was angry enough with Aaron to destroy him. But at that time I also prayed for Aaron. And I took that sinful thing, the calf you had made, and burned it in the fire. Then I crushed it and ground it to powder as fine as dust, and I cast it into the stream that came down from the mountain. You continued to provoke the Lord at Taberah, at Massa, and at Kibroth-hattaavah. And when the Lord sent you out from Kadesh Barnea, he said, go up and possess the land that I have given you. But you rebelled against the command of the Lord your God. You neither believed him nor obeyed him. You have been rebelling against the Lord since the day I came to know you. So I fell down before the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights, because the Lord had said he would destroy you. And I prayed to the Lord and said, O Lord God, do not destroy your people, your inheritance, whom you redeemed through your greatness and brought out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember your servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Overlook the stubbornness of this people and the wickedness of their sins.
Okay,
Otherwise,
we have
those
issues
in the
here.
land from which you brought us
Minor
out will
technical
say,
difficulties
because the Lord was not
with
able to bring them
performance. No
into
wonder
the
my
land he had
streams
promised them,
were
and because he
a bit
hated them,
dodgy.
he has brought them
We're going to
out
have to
kill them
change
in the wilderness.
things here.
But they are your
That
people,
is just
your
too much
inheritance,
for it.
whom you brought out by
cope
your
with.
great power and outstretched arm.
Alright, we're going to have to give it a little bit of a hand.
Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the originals. Come up to me on the mountain and make an ark of wood. And I will write on the tablets the words
Reload
that
the
were
game
on the
again
first tablets
and lower
that
the
you broke.
resolution.
And you are to place them in
That
the
frame
ark.
drops to 50 is
So
just
I made an ark
unacceptable.
of acacia wood,
Can't be living with
chiseled
it.
out 2 stone tablets
Can't,
like
you
the
just can't be
originals,
doing that.
and went up the mountain with the 2 tablets
That
in
is
my
not
hands.
allowed.
And the Lord wrote on the tablets what had been written previously.
Also,
the
the
10
frame
commandments
times here
that he
need
had
to
spoken
be
to you on the mountain
examined.
out of the fire on the day of the assembly.
No,
The
that's
Lord
the
gave
wrong
them to me,
application.
and I went
We
back
need
down the mountain
flatten
and
the frame
placed the
time.
tablets in the ark I had made, as the Lord had commanded
Of
me.
course, it
And
hasn't been
there
added.
they have remained. The Israelites traveled from the Iraq-Jayakin to Mosaic,
Common.
where Aaron died and was buried, and Eleazar his son succeeded him as
No,
priest.
it's
From there they traveled to Gadgada,
B
and
drive.
from
C.
Gadgada to Jophtha, a land with streams of water. At that time, the Lord set apart the tribe
maybe
of
it's
Levi
E drive.
to carry the ark of the covenant of the Lord.
We'll find
Stand
it.
before the Lord to serve him.
I wonder
and
everything
to
is
pronounce
all over
blessings
this
in
show.
his name, as they do to this day. That is why Levi has no portion or
Some
inheritance
foul drive.
among his brothers. The Lord is his inheritance, as the Lord your
Steam.
God promised him. I stayed on the mountain 40
Apps,
days
common,
and 40 nights, like the
dirt
first
rally.
time. And that time the Lord again listened to me
Done.
and agreed not
Apps
to destroy
60.
you. Then the Lord
Done.
said to me, Get up, continue your journey ahead of the
Now that we've
people,
got that
that they
added.
may enter and possess the land that I swore to their
Ah,
fathers
nice
to
and
give them.
flat.
And now, O
That's
Israel,
how we like
what
it.
does
Reward
the Lord your
available.
God
Oh,
ask
we
of
like
you?
rewards.
But to fear the Lord your God by walking in all his ways, to love him, to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, and to keep the commandments
We
and
need to go for the
statutes of the Lord
graphics
that
options.
I am giving you this day for your own good. Behold,
Wherever
to
they
the
are.
Lord your God belong the heavens, even the highest heavens, and the earth
Options.
and everything in it.
Graphics.
Yet the Lord has set his affection on your fathers and loved them. And he has chosen you, their descendants after them, above all the peoples,
Window
even
pulls
to
with
this
a
day.
spacing.
Circumcise your hearts, therefore,
On.
and stiffen your necks no more.
CAA
For the
on.
Lord your God
Apply.
is God of gods
Yes.
and Lord of lords, the great, mighty, and awesome God,
That should all
showing
be
no
good.
partiality and
Brightness
accepting no bribe.
1.0.
He executes justice for the fatherless and widow, and he loves the foreigner, giving him food and clothing. So you also must love the foreigner, since you yourselves were foreigners
There
in the
we
land
go.
of
Just a
Egypt.
short Monty.
You are to fear the Lord your God and serve him. Hold fast to him, and take your oaths in his name.
In this
He
thing.
is your praise, and he is your God, who has done for you these great and awesome wonders that your eyes have seen. Your fathers went down to Egypt, 70 in all. And now the Lord your God has made you as numerous as the stars in the sky. You shall therefore love the Lord your God, and always keep his charge, his statutes, his ordinances, and his commandments. Know this day that it is not your children who have known and seen the discipline of the Lord your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his
Okay, let's see how
outstretched arm,
fantastic the
the
flying
signs
boy
and
is.
works he did in Egypt to
He
Pharaoh,
looks
king
dodge.
of Egypt,
He must
and
be
all
very
his land.
dodge.
What he did to the Egyptian army and horses and chariots, when he made the waters of the Red Sea engulf them as they pursued you, and how he destroyed them completely, even to this day. What he did for you in the wilderness until you reached this place, and what he did in the midst of all the Israelites to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab the Reubenite, when the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them, their households, their tents, and every living thing that belongs to them. For it is your own eyes that have seen every great work that the Lord has done. You shall therefore keep every commandment I am giving you today, so that you may have the strength to go in and possess the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess, and so that you may live long in the land that the Lord swore to your fathers to give them and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land that you are entering to possess is not like the land of Egypt from which you have come, where you sowed your seed and irrigated on foot like a vegetable garden. But the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess is a land of mountains and valleys that drinks in the rain from heaven. It is a land for which the Lord your God cares. The eyes of the Lord your God are always on it, from the beginning to the end of the year. So if you carefully obey the commandments I am giving you today, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, then I will provide rain for your land in season, the autumn and spring rains, that you may gather your grain, new wine, and oil. And I will provide grass in the fields for your livestock, and you will eat and be satisfied. But be careful that you are not enticed to turn aside to worship and bow down to other gods, for the anger of the Lord will be kindled against you. He will shut the heavens so that there will be no rain, nor will the land yield its produce, and you will soon perish from the good land that the Lord is giving you. Fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds.
Oh,
Tie them as reminders on your hands, and bind them on your foreheads. Teach them to your children, speaking about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Write them on the doorposts of your houses and on your gates, so that as long as the heavens are above the earth, your days and those of your children may be multiplied in the land that the Lord swore to give your fathers. For if you carefully keep all these commandments I am giving you to follow, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to hold fast to him, then the Lord will drive out all these nations before you, and you will dispossess nations greater and stronger than you. Every place where the sole of your foot treads will be yours. Your territory will extend from the wilderness to Lebanon, and from the Euphrates River to the western sea. No man will be able to stand against you. The Lord your God will put the fear and dread of you upon all the land, wherever you set foot, as he has promised you. See, today I am setting before you a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I am giving you today. But a curse if you disobey the commandments of the Lord your God and turn aside from the path I command you today by following other gods which you have not known. When the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess, you are to proclaim the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal.
that one?
Are not these mountains across the Jordan, west of the road toward the
We're never going to be able to get up to
in the
speed
land
to
of
Sam.
the Canaanites, who lived in the Arabah, opposite Gilgal, near the oak of Moreh. For you are about to cross the Jordan to enter and possess the land that the Lord your God is giving you. When you take possession of it and settle in it, be careful to follow all the statutes and ordinances that I am setting before you today. These are the statutes and ordinances you must be careful to follow all the days you live in the land that the Lord, the